Yes. Harini, you need to accept the request. Sorry guys, some technical problem, and we're just waiting for Harini to accept the request and join the live. Harini.
Yes.
Sorry, some technical problem.
He's struggling. Everybody's on the internet. Can't help it.
Yeah, some technical problem. Yes.
So,
Yes, go ahead.
We're talking about prehab and rehab. So that's when
Yes.
rehab comes into play. After an injury, there are two steps that an athlete can take. So the first step is that he continues to do his exercises and long-term follow-up. That's a rehab part of it. So the pain is, they still have a niggle, the pain still continues for a while. So then we want to put them on a program and work on them on something more long-term. So this is specific to treat their injury. So they had an ankle sprain, he needs ankle rehab for 3 months so that this pain does not happen. Because an athlete, more than just treating injury, the recurrence is a bigger problem.
Yeah.
You don't want to go on a tournament and injure yourself again on the same thing.
Right, exactly.
The prehab, however, is for people who may not have any injuries or who have had injuries which have gotten better, or for young athletes, kids who want to work on developing a certain skill. So there are three standard injuries. So let's take matter. You have a standard rotator cuff shoulder injury. Okay, you have an injury, or you have a low back, for example, or an ankle. So now, if you want, this person is just pushing on their training, pushing on their fitness or their skill, you also parallelly want to make sure that you don't develop these injuries. So prehab is a preventive injury program. So wherein you make sure that you're working to not prevent, cause an injury in the first place. And then we do an assessment, and based on an assessment in your body type, we know which injury you're prone to. Each person has a body.
Exactly. Yeah, so through some tests. So this happens with some tests which you have to perform on that particular athlete.
So these are standardized that we practice across the world. So we use those tests to identify who causes and what is the cause of those injuries. So these are the programs we give. So more than pain management, as much as pain management, 10 sessions, and the pain vanishes, quite honestly, nowadays 10 sessions is nothing. We can pain better with these dry needling and taping in say 2-3 sessions.
Of course, yes.
But the long-term pain management is the key, especially for athletes. So and it's education, because most people don't understand that. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. Usually we go to we go to a physio. We take the services of a physio only after an injury. And that is what which we always keep talking is every academy needs to have a physio. Of course, physio doesn't. I'm 100% sure physio doesn't have a work every day. But then I think it is so important that you have a physio who's connected, who understands that coach, who understands those players, and then I think that really helps. With just like you said, prehab. It's like prevention is better than cure.
That's true. That is. I mean, that's what the whole world is talking about. And this prehab of this of late, we as Flexitude, we were tied up with the Indian Railways women's cricket team for this domestic season. So this has all players with Mithali Raj being the captain, and say Poonam Rao, all the Yadav, Arundhati Reddy, all the big shot Indian women cricketers are part of this team. So we did put them into this assessment, did a screening for them this time, and then we put them to these prehab programs. And trust me, we've been working with them for 7 months now, and we've been able to make remarkable differences. And quite honestly, this was the first team that I worked with that during the tournament, I had no work. I mean, we were very relaxed. We had no injuries. We had just little niggles, but nothing big. I didn't have to test a player saying you have an injury. So all this was the effect of the prehab.
Okay, can you just like just an example? Can you just tell how generally it happened?
Yeah, so we had one player, and she had come out of an ACL surgery. It had been 2 years since she had a surgery. Her knee was still not okay, and she's a short player. I mean, she plays for India A. So what we had to do was put her through prehab. So when I saw her 7 months before the tournament, she was so bad that she couldn't run. She was limping. And then we decided we'll work on her. Him and I were making sure that we would put her on her program every day, check on her, see her strength. She has no pain, so there is no issue there. But I knew if she would continue to work 7 months with that knee, the day we need her the most, she's not going to survive. Right. So we had to put her through that program and train her, identify those weak muscles, work on it. And she went on to perform. She was captain of the team for the T20 tournament, and we won the trophy. So see at what was her performance. It was absolutely brilliant. So yes, that was really eye-opener, quite honestly, for all of us. As much as we have all done it in theory, this was quite the first time the whole team supported us, and we got to do it. It was, the results were marvelous. So yeah.
Lovely. I think this should help. I mean, I'm sure this helps in every sport.
Yeah, absolutely. So since this was this team I worked with right now, this is like 1 month. Just before the lockdown, I got back home. I was traveling with this team. So this was what the result. And we had won the T20 BCCI championship, and we were almost close to winning the one days as well. I guess we will. So, but then it's a of the athlete as well. They also need to believe in the program, support, all of that.
Yeah, of course. That's the most important. People, the athlete believing that in that program, and I think even when somebody who's coming out from injury, it's very difficult for them psychologically. I don't think there's any problem with even with their physical or any skill abilities and all. It's all about mental. I think. How do you deal with those mental guys? How do you deal?
It's a struggle. It's really very hard. It's a struggle. Quite honestly. I mean, I know my forte is more on to physical pain and physiotherapy per se, but I know most of the time this chronic pain is psychological. People don't take it. Say your pain is psychological. They don't want to accept it. So it's very difficult. And quite honestly, I think with physio coming in, sports psychology is a very big, upcoming field as well. We need good psychologists who can help elite athletes to do all that. So.
Right. Yeah, because I remember, when Mukund came to you for that small thing, he was so worried. He was so worried that, he had to get back. And the way he said, no, I want to speak to her, I'll get things done. Because I said, see, if it is a small one, it shouldn't be any problem. The same thing, I remember Naveen telling him the same thing, I telling him the same thing, but then it has to come from the physio itself. And when,
And I think you also feel it. You feel better. The next day you're okay, satisfied.
I'm sure. He told me that he really troubled you so much, asking, too many questions and all that stuff.
And I think you're a good athlete or a good patient if you ask a lot of questions, because you should know what your problem is. So
absolutely.
So it's good. I mean, it was fun working with him. He was very talkative.
Absolutely. And more of the what are the general sportsmen, being a sportsman, how many what kind of regular injuries do they have, and what precautions all these sportsmen should regularly take care of them?
Right. So I think
Any sport.
as an athlete, basically you will have to identify some red flags for an injury. Not every
Okay.
injury is requiring physical, and you should know it needs to be addressed medically. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
ideally, say that you have an injury, an acute injury, it's just happened.
Okay.
Uh, you give it say 48 hours.
Okay.
You can wait it out. There is no hurry. The wait and watch approach is a very good old-fashioned kind of a treatment. Okay, but
Okay.
so you can still stick to maybe icing it, resting it, and doing basic things like that. But by 48 hours, if your pain aggravates or your condition aggravates, unless this is, of course, this is a fracture. Okay, a fracture or a trauma needs to be addressed immediately. But if it's a sprain or something like that, you can wait it out for 48 hours. If it doesn't get better, then you would want to do some basic assessment, get somebody to just check on you and see whether it is very bad or how good it is. But you do not want to postpone it either. So you have a tournament, you want to get it checked, great. You don't have anything, you have time, you can wait. I am not the kind of person who says you can get treated immediately, because most of the time, quite often, it heals on its own. Body is miraculous.
Right.
But you cannot postpone an injury. The minute you postpone a big injury, the rehab process takes longer. For you to get better takes longer, and it can get stressful. You could have, say, a tournament or a date coming up. You want to get fit before that, so you fall into the loop, and that's when your psyche, your psychology, everything screws up. You don't have for your practice and things like that. So that's is very crucial. So I would say, like, important small red flags would be like there is inflammation that is persisting, or the swelling which is there for more than a week. Okay. Pain is okay, but you go do your activity, it comes back. So you would want to get even a niggle checked. It's easier from a physiotherapist perspective to treat a niggle than treat a full blown injury.
Right. And go ahead.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So usually, most of like something like tennis or cricket and badminton, these are not contact sport, right? So contact sports injuries are, it's injury prone.
Yes.
So with all these kind of sport, these injuries, how can you avoid injuries? Like, most of them, everybody thinks that they're, like initially when you're warming up and all that stuff, how will they know that they're absolutely warmed up, or without, if your muscle is not working out, if your not muscle is totally warm or flexible, it's going to be injury prone. Correct. Right? So how can you know all this?
Well, I'd say after a certain point, the real trouble is only for younger kids. So this is, say, till you're 15, until you don't understand your body. So that's when they need a lot of guidance, maybe a right coach or a strength and conditioning trainer to help, take them through. But for slightly, professional athlete, I would say listen to your body. Each person is different. Okay, the way you warm up or what you require is different. So, and if you want to ideally start a season of practice or whatever, you should get yourself a pre-season testing done, which is a simple musculoskeletal testing that any sports will be able to guide you through. So what you could do is, it's a half an hour, 45 minutes assessment where we check your muscles, check your tightness, check your strength. And we come up with these things saying, say you have a tight hamstring. So you have a tight hamstring means you're prone to a hamstring injury.
This last, I'm still buffering.
There's
Hi.
some
Yeah.
lack in the
Yeah. It's buffering. No. Yeah. Go ahead. You were talking about that small assessment, the 45 minutes assessment.
assessment.
Yeah.
Yes. So we do that, then we can
Okay.
come up with a basic idea what they are, what issues they have. Like they could have a tight hamstring, for example.
Okay. Right.
So if they have a hamstring, then they're more prone to a knee injury, a hamstring injury, a low back injury, things like
Okay.
that. So
Yeah.
when we do assessment and we can give them back saying in your warm-up program, why don't you
Yeah.
focus on a bit more of your glute and hamstring mobility? It'll help
Okay.
you. Okay,
Right.
so these are things that they should, every professional athlete should do. And this changes every 6 months, quite honestly. So you work on your hamstring. The next thing you know, something else has become tight, or you pull some muscle, or you just had a little niggle and that muscle has become weak. So getting
Right.
this periodic assessment will keep you updated and will know, that, I'm good at this, or this right now, I have these issues that I want to address. So my warm up can consist of a lot more of hamstring mobility and a lot more of, say, hamstring foam rolling. And
Right.
maybe I can take it easy on because right now my shoulder's okay. So
Yeah.
it's very individual, very, and these athletes need to understand that, and they need to understand the body basically to a
First thing
large
is
extent.
understanding
You will
yourself is very important.
Yes. So you
Yeah.
can always, of course, take help. Somebody's guiding you is always there. But at some
Right.
point, you feel like you're pushing yourself too much, or you're not doing great, or you're not feeling comfortable. I would say step back.
Yeah.
You'd rather not have an injury than push yourself unnecessarily on one day and get yourself behind in, say, 15, 20 days. You can take one easy day than 15 easy days. So
Absolutely.
so that's where you have to know. You basically take a book. I would suggest to all these athletes, write down
Yeah.
what you know about
Yeah.
yourself, about your
Yeah.
body. You know which muscle is good, what you feel. You always have a difficulty in, say, one area and the other, and then figure out what works. You go and
Right.
practice every day. You have the time. You go with a plan, just like how you go with a plan for your skill. You also go with
Yeah.
a plan on how you want to work on your fitness and the way your body feels. So
Right.
eventually, you'll understand it, and it's amazing. An athlete who knows this are those who don't have very big injuries.
Right.
So the level of professionalism that I've seen in these international athletes, and I think that everybody needs to learn it at grassroots level as well.
Yeah, it's like a practice. You start from your juniors. Then slowly you develop. It's like a practice. Even that is practice.
Right.
That has to be practiced. Yeah. Right. And with these all these professional players, one common thing they come up with is especially tennis players is because they play for a longer time in different conditions, and having a ice bath or that sort is very difficult for until, I would say, until ATP 250s.
Okay.
ATP 250s are very less, and masters are very less. But then futures and futures are more. Future tournaments like $15,000, $25,000. And the ATP Challenger 50, 75, 100, 150. All these are very. It's very difficult to find a ice bath or something like that. So how can they be ready for the next day? And it is continuous. We don't have a off season at all. Maximum is like last month, last week, last couple of weeks of December. That's it. And you're back on court Jan, 1st of Jan.
Yeah, I know that's a very crazy, hectic schedule. So, but that's when a recovery is the key, because you don't want to push yourself. One, I think you should also periodize ideally. So every professional athlete, I'm sure, periodizes.
Right.
So as in, which tournaments you want to focus on, put in your
Absolutely.
best effort, and which you
Right.
can take it easy. So you got to periodize, because your human body will not take, say, 300 days of professional sport at all. Okay.
Absolutely.
Second thing, like you said, so post-game recovery is actually a very important thing. So normally what we would suggest the easiest way would be based on the weather. So if it's a very hot weather, it's simple, take a cold shower. So you come out, you go for a very cold shower, and it'll help you immediately body temperature back. So it's I would suggest that if not an ice bath, a cold shower definitely. You could do a lot of foam rolling specifically. So a lot of myofascial work helps. So they can do a lot of self foam rolling, a lot of myofascial work with stretches, and this will also help you with your recovery. Parallelly, diet. So you want to have a previous so if you have a game the next day, the amount of carb intake you take on the previous night is important. And then you have to know how long. Ideally, you would want them to eat a carb 2 hours before a tournament. A game.
Carb 2 hours before.
Yes. So because the maximum, the carb absorption maximizes at 2 hours. So basically your body is full of the energy 2 hours after you. So you cannot have a breakfast and immediately go for your game. It's not going to give you your best potential.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So you should know how to time your meal. So your time, your game, and your time of your meal is very, very crucial. So diet is one thing. Hydration is also one very, very important thing. So we would want to make sure that you had a game the previous day and you have a game the next day. Your recovery, hydration is very important. You could use these commercial energy drinks, maybe. Otherwise, a good old-fashioned electrol ORS will do.
Will do. Right.
Yeah. So make sure you're hydrated, and also there is something called as a urine color charting.
Absolutely. Yes, of course.
Use that.
Most of them follow that. Most of them follow that. That's the only way of your hydration, checking your hydration levels.
Yes. But then I guess they should stick to some basic things like that. So ideally, I would say the morning you would want to check that. You want to check your body weight. Okay, because in the morning weight is so and so. After a game, if you play 2-3 games that day, or you had a very stressful day, at the end of the day, if your body weight drops by more than 300 grams, so then you are potentially working out too much. Okay, and then you want to adjust your diet. Okay, so that's one more thing that you have to check. So you could also check temperature. There are people who also check their body temperatures, but I think that's for an athlete. But body weight is a very important thing, so you can also work on that. Parallelly, you want to take supplements. That's one more thing. That's a whole big area.
Of course.
Who take a lot
of protein supplements inside, day in, day out. There's a few of them have been using it over as well.
Exactly. So protein supplements are going to dehydrate you. So you need a very important balance. The more supplements you
because
take,
of the heat in the body, is it? Because of the heat they produce?
Yes, it does. And it really loads your kidneys. So it's very stressful on your kidneys. So I would suggest that you ease off your protein supplement in a very hot tournament. Because quite honestly, when you require the protein supplement only when you're doing a lot of strength training. And that would mostly an off season or slightly when you don't have much matches. So do not put on very high quantities when you're working too much. So there is a period of periodization when you have tournaments, when your diet, hydration, your sleep. Again, you should make sure sleep is monitored. You have your 8 hours of you're rested adequately. All of these factors will help with your recovery. So I know ice bath is a very popular recovery method, but all of this in a combination is the optimal recovery. Only ice bath will not solve it. So you don't have to worry if you don't have an ice bath. It's okay. Take a cold shower, or get into a hot tub. You feel better.
What is happening? Few.
What? Sorry, I didn't get you.
Sorry. Yeah, now, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was pausing. So anyway, like I was saying, this whole combination is important. So we talk about diet, hydration, recovery, musculoskeletal recovery, that's ice bath or foam rolling, sleep,
Right.
maybe body weight, height, all of that is a combination of recovery. So if you don't have an
Right.
ice bath, don't stress. Make sure
Yes.
everything.
Yes, because lot of the tennis players, especially, after their workout, they haven't they because watching somebody like, Mukund and Vashish, these guys go to Naveen to train. So when they go to Naveen, you have more of cricketers there, and they obviously happen to take ice bath after their thing, and you might not even find maybe a swimming pool close by. So these
Right.
guys, once they get used to it, they cannot get used to it. They wouldn't find anything when they go out. So that's again a psychological thing which has been affecting. So
That's true. That's true. It is, and it takes me a while for me to explain to people that it's good. Ice bath is good, but it has no scientific evidence. I know a lot of people will be disappointed to hear that, but no. So yeah, it's
I'm
just
sure, I'm
a
sure.
psychological good feeling. That's all.
Right. That's right. And the most important thing, Harini, I want with you is how should I tell you, the usage of physio. I want you to tell them, how a physio will be helpful to everyone, like the coach. How Harini would be helpful to a coach and a trainer.
Yes. So
Most of them
like
don't use the services of physio, which I think is very important.
yes. So I think that everybody remembers a physio only when they have an injury. So we are always
Exactly.
there.
Exactly. Right.
Well,
It's always
well,
it's always cure. It's not prevention. So I want you to stress more on prevention.
yeah, absolutely. So injury prevention is everything. So it's always a team.
Yeah.
Any athlete needs
Yeah.
needs to have a team of a good coach, a good trainer, a good physio, maybe an on-call dietitian and psychologist as well. So if
Okay.
they do have this team of 5, they are good to go.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and also, I also personally believe that all these 5 also need to be internally very strong. So usually, like I would, if you tell me there's some athlete of yours who has an injury, I have a trainer who's
Yeah.
my friend, also whom you
Mhm.
also know, and we work together.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. So we should
Yeah.
always, I suggest that we should have a team. So
Yeah.
everybody has a group, and if the coach feels this athlete needs assessment, they should be open enough
Yeah.
to understand the coach is right. The coach has the experience, and maybe they
Right.
do. Similarly, the trainer also will know. The trainer will know if the athlete is lacking in something or he has angle, and that's when
Right.
they come to a physio, and the physio needs to know the importance of injury prevention. So we need to basically educate the athlete. We need to tell them that listen, you could have an injury, and this injury could be so bad that your career could be at stake. All these years of you working out
Right.
could all go back if you
Right.
just let go. So that's when we need to work on injury prevention. And this whole injury prevention is not as simple as going to a physio. So I would probably talk to you as a coach, and I would tell you
Yeah.
maybe you need to the biomechanics, maybe change the action a little bit, or he's
Yeah.
having a
Right.
elbow, I want to probably change the grip, for example.
Right.
So that is your
Right.
forte. I know that this is the cause, but you're the person to guide
Yeah.
the athlete through that. Similarly, there is some strength issue. I would want to talk to the strength and conditioning coach. Tell that,
Okay.
I think this aspect, what do you feel? And strength and conditioning coach will come back to me and let's do this. So it's a whole team effort. And
Right.
I would very strongly suggest that every athlete has this team. Okay,
Right.
on
Exactly.
their coach, their trainer, their physio, and maybe
Right.
some other. And when we work as a team, we can do remarkable things. We can make world
Right.
class.
Absolutely. That's one of the major things I think we are missing in Indian sport, and slowly developing. Yeah, but I see a lot of changes happening in Indian sport as well, with all the physios, everybody coming together and working as a team.
That's true.
So
Absolutely.
that,
So, of working with the basketball team as well, and they were also telling me
right.
about how they are also just getting to know physios and the whole concept.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the
Coaches,
culture is changing. The culture of Indian, I mean, about the Indian sporting culture is just starting to come up, and I think we should be having better players, and hopefully we have so much of work to do.
win more
you know,
champions.
yeah, more champions and all that. Yes, of course. And yeah, how biomechanics for for every sport biomechanics, the basics of biomechanics are same, but then it's different for every sport, in terms of their stroke production and all that. So how do you think, what is the how much do you think as a coach and as a player we should focus on biomechanics so that we won't come up to you with bigger problems?
Yes, yes. Biomechanics is very important. So, one is that the simple nowadays, I think we have little apps itself which do basic video analysis and things like that. That is
Right.
good for a grassroots level athlete. Unless you have an injury that's troubling you or an issue which you really need to correct at very fine angles, I'm sure
Yeah.
most apps are accessible to most coaches and players. But again, the
Right.
coach knows, and I think the athlete should always listen to the coach, especially with these
Yeah.
biomechanics issues. And biomechanics is the key to both
Yeah.
great performance and also for
Yeah.
injury prevention. So you want to improve your performance, biomechanics is the key, and you want to make sure
Right.
your injury is not too bad to. And I think we should start a high performance biomechanics center in Hyderabad because we have nothing, and
Yes.
quite often
Yes. Yes. Of course. Of course. That biomechanic plan is still on. Maybe once we get everything sorted, we can start off doing it.
yeah,
There's so many. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I want to make sure that even the basic or grassroots level athletes have access to these biomechanical assessments. Because from what I know, I
Right.
guess except for the Indian men's cricket team, nobody gets it done. So this cannot
Yeah,
happen.
I think. I think because even in the pro circuit, which I see, which we travel for these futures and all, there's so many players who, frankly speaking, so many players who don't work on their biomechanics.
Exactly.
They play, somebody muscles the ball well, somebody has absolute brilliant contact points and all that stuff, but then it's so important at some point of time they have to stop there, their career stops there. Maybe if you have this biomechanic stuff going, maybe they can do little more better.
Yeah, they can do a lot better. It like push you to the, from you reach a point of stagnation, right? From there,
Yeah.
every little change matters, and I think that's where biomechanics is the key. Everybody
Yeah,
needs to.
we have a question. We have a thing from Ratan. Ratan is one of the coaches, tennis coaches. He says biomechanics assessments are the future in sports for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's true, and we need to be able to get every athlete access to biomechanical analysis. I think as the team of sports support team or
Yeah,
the support staff as we are, I think that's one
yeah,
of the things that we should do. We should be able to give these athletes access to that, and that's where I think the future of sports lies.
right. Exactly, exactly. And what are the general uh, general thoughts which you usually have with all these players when you treat a player, how do you assess them and how do you do that? Because I think most of them don't know. Going to the physio means directly going there with your injury and just getting things done. But what are the things you actually see in any? Okay, maybe maybe two or three major injuries. You can just take an example of few major injuries which happen. Like
Yes,
ACL is one among them.
ACL is very common every sport. I have some few of your athletes as well who come to
Yes,
me with
of course, of course.
uh, so ACL is very debatable whether or not to do a surgery. So I won't
Right.
get into that. But
Yeah,
surgery or not a surgery, ACL rehab needs to be done. And ideally, I would suggest that everybody be prepared for a 3 month, at least a 3 month rehab after ACL, because
right.
ACL is tough. It requires a
Yeah,
lot of work, and it's the
yeah,
most trained ligament in the body, so you can't help it.
Right.
So you want to
Yeah.
get better, that you want to push ACL. ACL is the one. Low back pain
Yeah.
is another. So
Yes, the one which you told me, the stress fracture of the back. No, yeah, that's the one.
back is an undiagnosed low back pain. It's like a mysterious thing.
Right.
People come
Yeah.
with low back pain, all these, we get MRIs done. They say, no, it's a disc bulge or some similar to that. But then it
Right.
doesn't get, keeps going on and on. And it's not seen in an MRI. So this stress fracture is a tough one.
Yes. Yes.
So,
And there's so many players who come up with, who cannot differentiate between a strain and a sprain.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, this is something very important. Suddenly, they come up with something, it might have been a strain, but then they think that's a sprain. And again, they go back 2 months, they have to go back 2 months, like mentally they go back 2 months.
Yes.
All that
They
thing
need
has
to
done is
basically,
gone.
I guess, just a small thing. I mean, most of the time, most injuries are not as big as it seems. So that's why you take 48 hours, take your time. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Take your time. You'll feel better. Don't freak out about it, and don't over worry and say, oh gosh, something's happened over, my career is over and all that. Nothing so dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah. And what is the equipment which all these the basic first aid stuff which these guys need, all the athletes from the amateur athletes to the pro athletes need to carry always with them?
I would say definitely myofascial release, either a foam
Okay.
roller or that ball. Okay, since you guys are into tennis, one tennis ball will
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Actually,
that's
yeah, right. If you know how to use it well.
exactly. So you basically, I think most of them do, or they should learn about it, because this myofascial release is magical. Magical meaning that it is not going to treat you, but it's going to make sure you're ready for the next day.
It releases all that
Tightness
stiffness.
and all of that.
Yeah.
Post practice or post game, muscles get really tight. So that. So I would make sure that they have it in the kit every day, and I use it every day. So that's one thing that I would want every athlete to own. And basic first aid, maybe a little bit of cotton gauze, things that maybe a betadine solution and things that basic stuff. And also you do get some of these silicone gels.
Yes, silicone. You're right.
Yeah. So those are quite useful for people who have these, overstrain kind of thing. So you're holding the racket in one position and you kind of get a callus in your or a feet.
Right.
Okay, so silicones, the sheets are very helpful. And so they have a bit of it, and you don't push these calluses too long, because they're most of the time very painful, troublesome, and there's no treatment for it. They come up with saying, do something about it, and we really can't do anything about it. So you should make, I would suggest that they have that. I tell all my athletes to carry one of those silicone sheets with them. So, yes, otherwise,
then we have another one question again. I feel most important thing is to know your body limitations and work on it accordingly. So prehab is most important. Proper warm up, correct equipment, including attire and shoes.
Right, absolutely. Like I was telling, you should know your body, and you should know when you can push more and when you can't, and you listen to your body, and you can do well. So make sure you tell your athletes. And if there are days, I know there will be some players who will just be whining, I don't want to, always, the complaining. So not that, but then I guess if you want to be a professional athlete, you have to be more than that, and that's when it is. And of course, footwear. I think footwear is also something which we've missed. Very important. Right footwear. You need to know when to use your arches.
Yes.
Also,
so just take us through that footwear, the pigeon toes, then the flat foot, and I just wanted to explain people.
So flat foot
and finding the right cue.
Right. So flat foot is very common in athletes, I guess. Basically, that collapse of the arch that happens. So you don't have to worry. Basically, flat foot are of two types. There's one thing called the flexible flat foot, and then other one is called the rigid flat foot. So rigid flat foot is a flat foot that you're born with. Okay. And that is the only flat foot that for which you'll have to, make sure that you have specific footwear. A rigid flat foot is something which is moldable. Basically, it's a weakness of a muscle.
Okay. Sure.
On your foot. So you can work on that. It's very simple. You just do a little bit of finger gripping, walk barefoot on sand and things like that. It will help you.
Right.
Also, of shoe. Now, if you have a very high arch or you have a very high arch, you don't want to take a shoe which is over flexible. Nowadays, Nike comes up with extremely flexible shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
But not good for everyone. It is only required for certain people with hypermobility. So if a person has a flat foot, that shoe would help. But if a person has a high arch, meaning there's already a lot of mobility, that would actually worsen his condition and he would need something more rigid.
Right.
So you need to, you could go to a podiatrist or even anybody who has some knowledge about the shoe to identify your footwear type or your foot type and suggest the right foot. Footwear could cause a lot of problems. I have a lot of people who would come with injuries and then we simply change the footwear. It was okay. And it might sound very silly, but that's what it is.
Right.
So footwear is very...
Right. Right. And the most important thing what I wanted to ask you is, people don't understand lactic acids. So how, everybody says when they say, lactic acids are formed and all this, I want you to take us through the lactic acid formation and explain about it.
So, well, in simple terms, I mean, lactic acid is a very, very popular term for some reason, but it simply means fatigue. So
absolutely.
It's how tired your muscle is. So if you say on your shot, you're able to generate X amount of power, and in your 10th shot, you're able to generate, say, X minus 5. That means that is the amount of lactic acid that's accumulated in your body. It's basic, say, aerobic respiration, as we call it. So there is no absolute measure for lactic acid as such. So you listen to your body again. You're tired, you feel fatigued, you're unable to push yourself through. That means that it was a fatigue, that was it. And that's it. Don't get into the technicalities. I mean, even big researchers.
Absolutely. So these days, people have been, all these hard words which, Mukund always mentions, sir, what are these, too much technical terms which we don't understand, So it is like lactic acids, people talk about, all these stuff, What do you suggest?
No, forget it. Stick to your basics.
Forget it. Stick to your basics. Just do your stuff, right? See, he's already here. Mukund is already here and asking you a question. How to recover from a twisted ankle?
Ankle is twisted?
This is the general stuff. No, I don't think so. He's sitting at home. Usually, everybody has this thing, I have a twisted ankle. Now, I can't play for the next 1 week or 10 days.
If you want a twisted ankle, make sure it's very specific. He's saying left ankle as well.
You know him well.
So anyway, if it's as long as there is not a lot of inflammation. See, ankle is this one of those things where just like that, when it will blow up double its size, it could be nothing. It will look really bad. So you don't have to worry. Again, listen to your body. You know you can do a little bit. Try, give it a feel. And basically, it's about going slow. I think people are very extreme. You think that if you want to go, you either want to rest or you want to go back and play your highest potential in spite of an injury. I think you should take it slow, take it day by day or maybe shot by shot. So you want to maybe volley for a while, see how you feel, and then feeling comfortable, go further. Not feeling comfortable, push back. Don't just go play your 1 hour of practice, come back and say it's worse. So again, you have to understand how you feel and take it step by step. If you're not okay, you're not okay. That's all right. But then most of the time you're okay.
I know, of course. That's again, you made it so simple for people to understand. Yeah, and the most important thing again is, people don't really, they don't understand the difference between a muscle pull, or a catch, muscle pull, catch, and a muscle strain.
Right.
And
So,
they come up with different theories. Everybody comes up with different theories.
well, it's not like
What's
that.
your theory?
Just if you're okay in 48 hours, that is in 2 days. If your pain is better,
Right.
uh, most of the time your body will heal on your. So you don't
Yeah.
need it, and you could take it a little
Right.
slow. But if
Yeah.
it does, and if it's on a muscle, especially those and major muscles, say calf, hamstring, quadriceps, or low back, or maybe a shoulder,
Yeah.
you want to get it checked because these are
Mhm.
standard muscles that pull. And if it's a
Right.
cramp, most of the time a cramp
Yeah.
could pull. You had a cramp in the middle of the night, you get up, and the next day you're limping. Your calf is.
Yeah.
It will settle on its own, so you don't have to worry too much. So you wait and watch again, and identify those major muscles and make sure you're not messing up those because those are very.
Yeah. And muscle stretch as well. That everybody, all the players, especially tennis players, I think when they slide more or something, that's it. That's just a normal stretch. So maybe you
Right.
can just probably, that stretch. You just have to compress that muscle.
Yeah, you could do a
You
compression,
know.
you could do a spray, you could do a foam rolling again. That's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it. And so that's what I was trying to, we are trying to talk is about mental. It's all about here. And there's so much of information available on social media, or, everywhere. It really, it gets you in, it actually gets you into trouble, because your mind is stuck with so many things,
Right.
right?
That's true. That is true. So you should just believe and not look into too much information. I guess it's just like
Right.
the COVID-19 situation. Everybody has a cold cough fever, and you think, "Oh God, I think I have it."
Exactly. Exactly. And now, we're getting into the last 10 minutes. Last 10 minutes, uh, you know, I want you to tell us, there was one thing which you told me after coming back from Korea, that you saw something which was amazing. Sachin Tendulkar's farewell was too small in front of somebody who did that. So can you just take us through that?
Okay, so I was at a baseball tournament at South Korea, and then
Yeah.
today we were just watching TV, and
Yeah.
there was a farewell party, I guess, of one of these baseball athletes out there. And I'm not, they are not major league players. They are just local league
Yeah.
players from the South Korean. I think he was from the LG Twins or something like that. And
Okay.
the party and the way the athletes and the people there were giving him a farewell was remarkable. And quite honestly, it took me a while to even Google and find out who this guy was. Never heard his name. I'm sure nobody would have, at least in India, even a very big football fan. But
Yeah.
is the absolute amount of fan following that they have. So I guess we are looking from our perspective, and we think cricket is big, but every country has their big sport and they love their
Absolutely.
athletes. So everybody, all big athletes have their little fan base that everybody likes, and I think you should be proud of it.
Of course. Of course. And lastly, I want you to tell which was the most difficult. I mean, there might have been a player, and it would have been tough time for you to even come out with that injury. Setting up that injury well. Is there anything? Is there any incident?
Yes, quite a lot of injuries. So, like I said,
Yeah.
even now I struggle with back stress fractures. That's it's one of those injuries that most doctors don't even believe it exists.
Right.
So it takes a while
Yeah, we have Vishnu as well here. We have Vishnu, and we have another very senior player and coach, Mr. Peter Vijay Kumar. Quite a lot of them are here. So maybe you can take us through about that stress fracture of the back.
So yeah, so this stress fracture is particularly common in racket sports and in bowlers in cricket. That's because basically when you're
Right.
say serving the ball or you lift, so there is a forceful shoulder movement and rotation of your spine that happens. Okay, it's called
Sorry,
a
Harini,
flexion
we missed
rotation
it.
movement.
Harini, we missed the
So
last.
what?
Harini, we missed the last
Yeah.
10 seconds. It's boring.
All right. Yeah. So what happens is when you serve, okay, what happens is you do this
Yeah.
movement where your arm comes into flexion and then your trunk also
Yeah.
rotates. So there is something called flexion rotation movement that happens in your shoulder and your spine. All right. So
Right.
this puts a
Right.
lot of strain on your low back bone.
Okay.
Okay. So if you do that a lot or very recurrently,
Okay. Right.
uh, then what happens is there is a small microfracture that happens on your spine.
Okay.
It is so small that it won't be seen in an X-ray. It's not a fracture. It's so small that it will be like a strain. So the first time you have it, your body heals on its own. You don't feel the pain. But as you keep doing
Okay.
it, it's called an overuse. So you keep doing that.
Okay.
Guys practicing it over and over and over again. So that
Right.
part of the spine is going into the trauma over and over again. And that's
Right.
when we come into something called as a stress fracture. It's so small, it most of the time is not even seen in an MRI, let
Oh,
alone an
okay.
X-ray. You need a specific called a bone scan for it. So
Right.
that's what it is. Most of the time, nobody knows. It's not diagnosed right. The athlete comes with pain in the low back. No matter what you treat, it doesn't get better. Although the treatment for it is fairly simple. They just need rest. They simply
Right.
need. But
Yeah.
it would seem like it's so difficult. And then this stress fracture is something that I've been seeing off late in a lot of athletes across sports. And
Yeah.
so I struggle to explain to orthopedicians about it because they need another test. The MRI says something, but it's not that. So a typical
Right.
symptom for somebody to watch out with chronic back pain would be that you have pain at rest. During your activity, your adrenaline is high, you're able to do it. Or when you're playing, you don't have pain. You go back home
Right.
after you practice or you're resting and you have dull aching pain.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
You have that and it's a red flag, you need to get that checked.
Right. So this is something interesting which I think most of us didn't even realize. Maybe we might have had or it might have healed. I don't know. Yeah.
Exactly. It heals
It's
on its
something.
own. Most of the time, you
Yeah.
don't know.
Right. It's something unique which we got to know. Which I got to know today from you. You didn't tell me all these years. Amazing. This is some and this was with one of the players, is it?
Yeah, I've been seeing it in quite a few players actually of late,
Okay.
especially
Okay.
adolescent age. So these are between say 15 to 19, 15 to 21. That's a common age
Okay.
group as well.
Right. So wow, something amazing. You want to add on something? We are in the last few times. Yeah, maybe next session we'll do it on some particular injuries. So
Yeah, we can absolutely
you
do
can.
something. But then I
Yeah.
just want to know what everybody is doing with staying at home. How are you guys working? We are working online, so how are you guys doing?
See this guy comes up again. I'm sure Mukund will come up with some other injury for sure. Now he says his data pack is gone and
Question.
did you answer
No,
my
I
injury?
think we'll have to work.
Yeah.
No, we'll have to do ankle injuries, I guess. We'll have to do like an hour.
Absolutely. And how important is the trainer's part, because trainer is the one who's actually giving you because trainer is the one who gives all the stress basically, and the coach, I mean all the fitness thing especially,
Right.
is there anything which trainers also have to take care?
Trainers, I think most sports trainers are very good of late,
Yeah.
and they know to do the right thing. So
Yeah.
I just think that trainers should make sure again not to push them beyond a certain capacity.
Right.
There used to be a time where athletes used to come with injuries because of poor training, but I feel
Yeah.
of late it's become quite less, meaning that training are becoming better and better, which is a very good sign from athlete or the coach and the trainer's perspective.
Yeah.
So that's what it is, and
Right. Yeah. And last in these last couple of minutes about Flexitude.
well, Flexitude, it's been 1.5 years since we've started Flexitude. We've been working with some of the best athletes, at least across Hyderabad. I guess most of the Hyderabad Ranji team is with us. Mitali Rajit
Yes.
is with us. So we have
Yes.
some of the best athletes across maybe Indian basketball players, football players, tennis.
Right.
We have our favorite here.
Ah,
We have a
he's
lot
here.
of
Right.
so
Right.
now in the future we are looking at
How big is the
expanding.
team? How big is the team?
We have a team of at the moment offline, as in the clinic.
Right.
We have
Right.
4 physiotherapists,
Right.
and we have also now expanded to a very big online portal to reach out to these athletes who stay in different places, different parts of the world as well. So we've been also doing a lot of online consultation and online rehab and things like that. So offline, we have a larger team. We have people, physiotherapists from across the world who are part of our team.
Right.
But based out of Hyderabad at the moment, we are also looking to expand into a lot more centers. I guess over the next few years, you will be looking at a lot more sports rehab, lot more branches coming up.
Of course. Of course. So yeah, maybe next session we will do on some major injuries sometime soon,
Maybe
whenever
we
you're
can,
free.
because I was looking. Yes, absolutely. Because your ITF website lists a lot of injuries, and
Right.
I think most of them are very common that you face. So maybe we can talk about those and how, as a player or as a coach,
Yeah.
what you guys can do so push it too much.
Right. Right. Thank you so much, Harini, for taking all the time. Though your son is. There's one more. There's one question left. It's possible to refer case to you, ma'am. Is it possible to refer case to you, ma'am? Yes, of course.
Yeah, you can do that. You can get in touch with me on my Insta, or you can also, we are consulting online at the moment, so we can work it out.
Yeah.
We are working with a lot of athletes already.
Right. Of course, your son is missing you. So thank you so much, Harini, for being here and taking all the time and giving us so much knowledge about physiotherapy. Hope I didn't trouble you.
No, it was fun. We should do it again.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you for this. Whatever you're
Bye.
doing is great. So
Thank
keep
you.
doing that.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Bye.